So the first thing, this workshop has been organized to take advantage of the opportunity to reach out to the Punjabi American grower community. So we are doing simultaneous interpretation into Punjabi. So there are headsets available at the table back there, and just also as a notice for everyone here, in order to to allow for the interpretation, we may be going through slides more slowly than you may be accustomed to. We will be waiting for the interpreters to finish interpreting each of the slides in English before moving on to the next slide. Also notice that this is the interpretation working correctly. Anyone? Good, thumbs up, great to hear. Okay, good, thank you for that. I also note that we will be recording the presentations, but not the discussion. So just the presentations here, so that these presentations will be available as a resource for others. Let's go to the next slide. And I'll just give an overview of the agenda today and the purpose of today's meeting. Again, there it is. So we'll start with some opening remarks. We're glad to have here a number of elected officials. We'll start off with some opening remarks from Vice Chair Didi Diadamo with the State Water Resources Control Board. We also have Jasbir Sidhu with Pagg, the Punjabi American Growers Group, and then Representative Kyle Savage representing Congressman John Duarte's office. Then Assemblywoman-elect Alexandra Macedo is here, as well as Assemblyman David Tangipa, and representatives from the offices of Assemblywoman Melissa Hurtado, Assemblywoman Jasmine Baines, and representative of Tulare County Board of Supervisors, Vice Chair Pete Vanderpool, and Chair Larry McCarty. So great to have all of these elected officials here to hear this discussion and understand the issues and share their thoughts on perspectives on SGMA. So after the opening remarks, we'll have an introduction to SGMA and a status update that will be presented by the State Water Resources Control Board staff here to my left. And then one of the great opportunities we have here today is a number of other agencies and affiliated organizations who are here to share resources for growers that can help provide a variety of types of support and opportunities to address challenges. So we'll be hearing from all of them, and then we'll take a 10-minute break at about the halfway point of the meeting, and then the rest of the meeting will be a panel discussion. So we'll have a few more folks come up on stage, and then we will open it up to questions from the audience. Let's go to the next slide when the interpretation is done. All right, so just a bit of context here. This workshop grew out of a recognition from previous workshops that the Water Board hosted in specific groundwater basins, where it became clear that there was a need for a workshop focused on the concerns of the Punjabi American growers community with Punjabi language interpretation available. So the Water Board has convened this group and brought together this group of other agency experts and partner organizations to share information and resources for growers. And I want to emphasize that this is not part of a formal comment process. This is an informational workshop with an opportunity for dialogue. It's great to see all the conversations that were happening as people were coming into the room. So it's an opportunity to share information and build relationships here. And we'll go to the next slide when the interpretation catches up. And while we're waiting here, I just want to emphasize the role of the Punjabi American Growers Group, Pagg, for helping to organize this workshop and helping with outreach to all of the growers who are here today. And so just a little bit further on the objectives of today's meeting. Again, the primary purpose of this meeting is informational, to provide information on the context of the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act and the current status of its implementation, sharing resources that are available to support growers, and listening to the concerns of the growers so that the state agencies that are responsible for implementing SGMA can better understand your needs. And again, just pausing for the interpretation to catch up. And there we go. Just a few community guidelines here for our discussion today. We ask that you engage respectfully with one another and with the panelists, both with your spoken comments as well as any written comments. We will call on speakers in order of raised hands when we get to the discussion portion of the meeting, and we will do our best to stick to the agenda timeframe, that main milestone being the break at the halfway point before the panel discussion. All right. And with that, I will go ahead. Actually, we'll wait for the interpretation to catch up. Okay, so here we're on to the opening remarks. I'll first introduce Vice Chair Didi Diadama with the State Water Resources Control Board, who will give welcoming remarks.
Thank you, Jim. Well, I just want to thank you all for taking the time out of your evenings and away from your families to spend some time with us. I recognize a lot of familiar faces from some of the other workshops, but I'm glad that we have been able to organize our schedule and yours so that we can come together for this additional opportunity with language services. So at the workshop that we had in June for the Acequia subbasin, there were a number of you that I recognize that were concerned because of the inability to properly communicate, especially for those of you that need language interpretation services. So thank you very much for calling our attention to that shortcoming, and for giving us the opportunity to make sure that we could secure a contract so that we had proper language interpretation services, and to pull this all together again. So that workshop was on the Acequia subbasin, and we're going to be looking at the Acequia basin, but also the big picture issue for the whole San Joaquin Valley, because I know many of you grow in multiple areas. So I'm just kicking this off, not going to get into the details because we've got lots of folks from our staff that are very involved in the specific basins and have been working directly with a lot of the technical committees. We also have our Office of Chief Counsel here in the event that there are any legal questions. So we have our whole team, and I just really want to thank the other agencies that are here, because the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act is very challenging. And so it took years for us to get into this situation where we've had overdraft and subsidence and impacts with drinking water, and it's going to take a while to, turn the corner. And so the legislation that was adopted 10 years ago provides for deadlines, and our role at the State Water Board is really limited to situations where agencies are not able to show that they can provide for sustainability within the time frame that's outlined in the law. But we fully recognize that the best way to manage groundwater basins is local groundwater management. And so you all together as community members, along with your groundwater sustainability agencies, and many of the agencies that are here today that have additional resources for you, we're really confident that with that additional amount of time and resources that you will be able to come into sustainability. But for those that are not able to, there is a role that we play at the State Water Board that's outlined in statute and required by law. I want to give you a little bit of a personal perspective before I sit down, and that is to just tell you a little bit about our board. We have a 5-member board. We're all appointed by the governor in the state of California. We serve 4-year terms, and we have one board member that's an attorney. We have 2 board members that are engineers. Our chair serves in the public position. I serve in the water quality position, but I also wear a second hat. One member of the 5 has to have experience in irrigated agriculture, and that's me. So I worked for many years, for 20 years, for members of Congress in the northern San Joaquin Valley, working almost exclusively on agricultural issues. In addition, my husband is a retired farmer, and his family, sadly, decided it was best to sell the farm after 100 years of being in production. They grew packed and shipped cantaloupes, asparagus, tomatoes, almonds, which I know many of you grow. And so I come from this issue at a very personal level and understand the challenges of what it's like in order to get that crop from field, to harvest to shipping, and the many challenges that you see, not just with water, but across the board with many regulations and the markets and the market challenges that you face. So I just want to make sure that you all realize we're here to listen to you, but we, are making every effort we can to be sensitive and understand the very big challenges that you face. And that's why we've decided to take some more time to spend with you, and I look forward to the really good discussion this evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Didi. I will next introduce Jasbir Sidhu with the Punjabi American Growers Group, and while he's taking the stage, I'll ask for the next 3 folks to come up and just get ready to come up because it's a bit of a long walk up. So if Alexandra Macedo, Assemblywoman-elect, and Assemblyman David Tangipa, you could kind of come over their stage left, and Kyle Savage with Representative Duarte's office also.
Good evening. Sat Sri Akal. On behalf of Pagg, Punjabi American Growers Group, we would like to welcome everyone today, our assembly, our elected leaders, as well as everyone that's coming from the state, DWR, State Water Resources, CDFA, CAF, Water Blueprint, UCNAR, URCTA, and many others. But a lot of it is, we have a lot of Punjabi farmers, so this is the first Punjabi workshop that we have. Our hope is to continue Pagg will play the bridge between the farmers and the state and federal. There are a lot of challenges. I think it gives us opportunity to lay out all of our concerns, questions. So today, we should be able to ask any questions, whether it's related to water sources or economics or the policies or any of it. Questions can be asked raising hand. Questions can be written in English or Punjabi. So if you could have your questions asked in Punjabi, and one of the individuals will answer that. And on top of that, a lot of this meeting is, we especially like to thank Karen Ross, our Ag Secretary, and all the leaders that come from Sacramento that recognizes Punjabi community, and it's our contribution. So we wanted to basically thank everyone, and at the same time have a very open meeting. And so this is the first meeting that Pagg was able to put together, and we're hoping that based upon results, we'll be able to do many, many more. So just few words in Punjabi. ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਇੱਥੇ ਆਇਆਂ ਦਾ ਵੈਲਕਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਜਿੰਨੇ ਵੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਫਾਰਮਰ ਆ, ਸਾਡੀ ਕੰਟਰੀਬਿਊਸ਼ਨ ਕਾਫੀ ਆ ਸਟੇਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ। ਉਹਦੇ ਲਈ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਸਾਡੇ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਵੌਇਸ ਰੇਜ਼ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ। ਅੱਜ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਵੌਇਸ ਸੋ ਫਾਰ ਰੇਜ਼ ਹੋਇਆ, ਸਾਡੇ ਹੁਣ ਸਟੇਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿੰਨੀਆਂ ਵੀ 10 ਤੋਂ 12 ਆਰਗੇਨਾਈਜੇਸ਼ਨ ਡਿਫਰੈਂਟ ਆਈਆਂ ਗਈਆਂ, ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਤੁਸੀਂ, ਇਹ ਸਾਰੇ ਹੀ ਡਿਸੀਜਨ ਮੇਕਰਸ ਆ। ਸਾਰੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਜਾਣੀ ਦੀ ਜੋ ਵੀ ਪਾਲਿਸੀਜ਼ ਬਣਦੀਆਂ ਟੇਬਲ 'ਤੇ ਇਹ ਬਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਨਾਲ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਓਪਨਲੀ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਪੁੱਛੋ, ਕਿਸੇ ਕੋਈ ਡਰ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਗੀ। ਜਿਹੜਾ ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਮਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਅੱਜ ਆ ਅਤੇ ਫॉर ਨੈਕਸਟ 5-10 ਸਾਲਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੀ ਹੋਣਾ ਹੈ ਨਾ, ਉਹ ਸਟੇਟ ਦੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਮੇਵਾਰੀ ਆ, ਰਿਸਪੌਂਸਿਬਿਲਿਟੀ ਆ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਆਨਸਰ ਦੇਵੇ, ਜੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਦੇਵੇ ਤਾਂ ਮੁੜ ਕੇ ਫਿਰ ਲੇਟਰ ਔਨ ਦੇ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ। So with that, I think we want to have a very open dialogue discussion. Again, we want to thank everyone for coming, traveling down, taking time off their busy work and from the families. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I'd like to introduce Assemblywoman-elect Alexandra Macedo.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Alexandra Macedo. I was sworn in on Monday as your Assemblywoman if you live in Tulare County, Kings County, or South Fresno County. It's truly an honor. I am honored to represent the heart of the Central Valley and the heart of California that feeds the rest of the world. And I jokingly tell people that Central Valley dirt flows through my veins because I actually was born and raised here to a family deeply rooted in agriculture. I'm actually a fourth-generation farmer, and my big push to run for this seat was to be the voice for agriculture and the voice for the Central Valley. My family grows almonds, and recently we diversified into citrus and wine grapes, so my interest in SGMA is not new. I actually went to law school just to make sure that farmers' voices are heard with regulatory agencies, and that's what my business does. So apologize for the work clothes. I came here because I wanted the Punjabi community to know that we understand how scary the word SGMA can be without further clarification, and I want to thank the agencies that are here because collaboration on a solution is truly the only way forward for us to continue to do the wonderful thing that we do, which is feed the rest of the world. So thank you all for being here tonight. I'm excited to have a respectful and engaging dialogue, and that way we can make sure that your voices are heard and the issues of SGMA are addressed. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And next, Assemblyman David, sorry about the, I mispronounced your last name, Tangipa. Tangipa. Tangipa.
You gotta raise this up a little bit. As long as I know how to say it, that's all that kind of matters. So hello, my name is David Tangipa. I am the Assemblyman for Assembly District 8. So if you were able to vote for Jim Patterson before, I have taken Jim Patterson's seat and Jim supported me in that. So I represent Fresno County, Madera County, Mariposa, Tuolumne, Calaveras, Mono, and Inyo. So it is a 7-county region that is extremely large, but a little bit about myself too. I am born and raised here in the Central Valley. I played football at Fresno State, and while I was there, I was actually taken in by farmers out of Kerman that really adopted me and kind of ingrained into me. And I remember there was a time where I had to work because I didn't have any money, and so I went to go work for some of the farmers, and they put me on a forklift, gas and raisins. And so really my deep history, and especially the people who helped raise me, are all rooted in ag, from the Holland family, the Helmuth family. I remember speaking to Charanjit Bath and a couple others just on exactly what's important, because we see just how vital it is to this area. If we talk about it, Alexandra Macedo, she represents Tulare, Kings, and southern Fresno County. And so what we really wanted to do is just make sure that you know who your new representatives are. That if you're having an issue, whether it's at the state level, local level, where we can participate and make sure that we're being one of your voices. You used to go to Jim Patterson, and now I want you to know that you're going to have that same open door with my office. This is an area that we want to focus in on, because if we're looking at Fresno County, Tulare County, Kern County, and especially the other counties around, we are the #1 ag-producing region in the world. If we see that Ukraine is a vital national asset and we've spent $24 to $400 billion protecting that, our ag producing value here is significantly higher than that. And I think that we deserve that same type of attention, that we are a national asset, especially when we feed the world. And so I just wanted to make sure that you know that our office is open, my office is open. If you have any concerns that are issues coming up, like I said, I'm being held accountable by those same farmers. There's nobody that's going to hold me more accountable than you. We've got a lot of work to do. We see a lot of the issues that are coming out of this area, and it's how do we work together to just progress in the proper fashion and find the solutions that work for you as a farmer, as a producer, as a business individual that's producing in this area. You are vital to this community. We wanted to make sure that you knew that, and you could always reach out to us anytime you need us. Thank you for allowing me to be here.
Thank you. And Next, we have Kyle Savage with Representative John Duarte's office.
I'm going to have to lower it a little bit more. I'm not as tall as David. My name is Kyle Savage. I'm Congressman John Duarte's field representative from Madera and Fresno County for the 13th District. And as much as this district is not within our district, we do have the upper part of the Central Valley. Better? We do have the upper part of the Central Valley, including communities such as Kerman that do have a strong Punjabi community. And so we wanted to make sure that it is an honor for our office to be here on behalf and their invitation from the American Punjabi growers community. And we wanted to say that Congressman Duarte was honored to build strong ties with the Punjabi American growers up and down the state of California. Regarding the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, or SGMA, Congressman Duarte has been a leader in advocacy for the protection and replenishment of the Central Valley's precious groundwater resources. Besides just advocacy, he is proud to have secured $5 million in fiscal year 2024 community project funding for the San Joaquin River Exchange contractors in Los Baños Creek Recharge and Recovery Project. Out of the primary policy goals of SGMA is addressing substances. The San Joaquin River flood control system, in particular, has been impacted by severe subsidence originating in the El Nido and the Red Top area located in Merced and Madera counties. This subsidence has reduced flood flow capacities of the system while increasing flood risks for adjacent land and facilities. In addition, the Los Baños Creek area suffers from multiple hazards that compound each other and ultimately increase the risk of catastrophic damage to infrastructure. The Los Baños Creek Recharge and Recovery Project includes the construction of approximately 200 acres of recharge and storage ponds and 7 recovery wells alongside Los Baños Creek between the California Aqueduct and the Central Valley Irrigation District outside Canal. This project will receive flood flows from both the San Joaquin and Kings River together with surface water from the Los Baños Creek, the San Joaquin River Exchange Contractors Water Authority members agencies, San Luis Water District, the CCID main and outside canals, in exchange from other contractors. The Delta Mendota Canal and outside canal would be used to convey flood water to be stored for later use. Water wells will be piped to the DMC and CCID outside canals to augment drought-impacted water supplies. Common sense project like the Los Baños Recovery Recharge and project addressing the goals of SGMA while providing user benefits for growers and municipalities alike. In addition to recharge projects, Congressman Duarte strongly believes that many of the valid concerns in SGMA can be addressed by increasing the supply of clean, reliable surface water to disadvantaged communities found up and down the congressional 13th district that we have in the Central Valley as a whole. New surface water treatment plans would relieve stress from overdrawn groundwater supplies and address a range of health inequalities arising from polluted groundwater. He is proud to have secured millions of dollars for federal funding, authorizing for Valley Water Infrastructure in the 2024 Water Resources Development Act, or WARDA, which includes, but is not limited to, $27.5 million for Madera County, $10 million for Stanislaus County, $10 million for Patterson, and $4 million for Los Baños, California. Again, our office would greatly like to appreciate the invitation from the American Punjabi Growers Group to be able to be here today and be able to learn more and what we can do in Congress for the growers that we have in the Central Valley. Because it's the Central Valley, it does not feed just California. They don't just feed the country, we feed the world. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Kyle. And next we have Eric Coyne with Assemblywoman Melissa Hurtado's office.
Good evening. I'm here representing State Senator Melissa Hurtado. She's no stranger to the Punjabi American Growers Group. She was very thankful for your support as well as other ag leaders when she sought surface water funding to repair the Frying Kern in her first term. I want to commend the Water Board and the other agencies for creating this opportunity for the Punjabi community to hear in their own languages about the different science that's being proposed with SGMA. I don't have a law degree like Ali, but I've been studying this for a long time, and it's very complicated for those of us who English is our first language. It's important that you understand what's being proposed and offer your input. Following on something Didi said, it's important to have local control and local input into water systems. Yes, we have scientists who've studied this from afar, but there's also an enormous amount of knowledge among the farmers and the irrigation district officials who've operated the existing water system for decades. And I think it's going to take a vigorous effort from all parties to get to an equitable solution that's going to preserve water for people, water for farming, and water for the environment. We don't want anybody to lose out, but what good is water to drink that'll keep you alive long enough to starve if you can't feed your people? So thank you very much for the opportunity and the effort to communicate in diverse languages, to gather input all over the valley, because this group here, farming, I've been covering agriculture for 40 years. And whether it's Raisin City or Carruthers, South and Kern, you're growing all over the state. And we appreciate the produce you produce. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Next, we have Nick Sahota, who is a board member of the Selma Unified School District and a Pagg member.
Thank you. Good evening, and everyone. My name is, like he said, Narinder Nick Sahota. And Sat Sri Akal Saਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ. I'm honored to be served as a trustee and a president of Selma Unified School Districts Board. It's a pleasure to be here with the farming community of the Central Valley. Thank you for the coming and meeting us. However, as I have a few minutes to speak, I will try to be brief as possible. SGMA began with a good intent. However, it's become a weapon. Our forefathers and a great knowledge and decided to make our state the greatest place on earth. In the early 1900s, they began a tremendous undertaking, realizing the state has abundance of resources, but also some difficulty. Over 200 million acres feet of waters falls on a Californian average year. However, most of the waters falls north of the Bay Area and most of the best land for the people in Southern California. The most productive farmland in the world is located here in the San Joaquin Valley. So those early pioneers built the greatest water infrastructures projects ever conceived. California then grew into the greatest place on the world. Unfortunately, our state is real trouble and a lack of investment over the past 50 years, combined with a lack of a foresight, has caused the SGMA to become a weapon to destroy the San Joaquin Valley. The state government and unelected bureaucrats are peacefully doing this. Farmers are peaceful people, but we have our back against the wall. This act not only affects farmers, but will affect numerous other businesses, such as trucking, manual labor, packing houses, groceries, convenience stores, etc. Hopefully, all this issue can be solved peacefully. We look forward to continue engaging with the folks to find a resolution. I'm pretty sure Pagg and other organizations will further discuss this later. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Nick. We also have here Israel Sotelo, who is the Chief of Staff with the Tulare County Board of Supervisors, representing Chair Larry McCarry and Vice Chair Pete Vanderpool. Israel.
Good afternoon, everybody. Supervisor McCarry and Supervisor Vanderpool send their regards. They apologize. They could not make it tonight, but they wish they could be here. The county is a stakeholder in this whole process, just like all of you. We sit on your local GSAs as a member representing the white areas, and so everything that affects you also impacts us on a very intimate level. I just want to let you know, and if you've ever met Pete and if you've ever met Larry, you know how accessible they are. You know you always get a phone call back. You know you always get an email back. And I want to offer the same sort of relationship with you all. I have a few cards there in my portfolio. If you would like to get in contact, please let me know. You'll get a phone call back. You'll get an email back. And we're all working to this together. So I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here. And again, they apologize that they couldn't be here, but they know that they need to be represented and they need to have a voice for the local people and for local control truly in every opportunity that we get. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you to all the elected officials who took the time to come here and share those thoughts. We really appreciate it, and yes, thank you again. We are now going to move into the presentation portion of the evening. We'll start off with a couple of presentations by the State Water Resources Control Board staff. And let's go to the next slide here. And I think the next one after that. Great, and I will turn it over to Natalie Stork, who will be introducing these presentations.
Hello, my name is Natalie Stork, and I am the Director of the Office of Sustainable Groundwater Management at the State Water Board. I want to thank the Punjabi American Growers Group and the Punjabi community for having us here today to discuss the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, also known as SGMA. We'll now discuss the background of SGMA and how it came to be. SGMA was passed in 2014, and this timeline slide shows what has happened to implement SGMA over the past 10 years. We'll discuss this timeline throughout the presentation. Now, Regina will talk about SGMA, why it was enacted, and about California water use.
Sorry, I'm a little taller. Next slide, please. Thank you, Natalie. Hello and good evening. My name is Regina Graciano, and I'm an engineering geologist with the Office of Sustainable Groundwater Management at the State Water Board. To start us off, I'll be giving some quick context for SGMA and groundwater management in California. Groundwater is an essential part of the California water portfolio, with 80% of Californians relying on groundwater for part of their water supply. During average water years, groundwater makes up 38% of the state water supply, but during times of drought, groundwater makes up 60% of our supply. Groundwater has been a significant source of water for human use in California for over a century. For most of that time, there were no significant restrictions on how much water was pumped. As a result, many groundwater basins around the state of overdraft. Water is being pumped out faster than it can be replenished by rain and other resources. Sorry for the pause, we were waiting for interpretation. Okay. In 2014, California experienced one of the biggest droughts in history. As you can see in the dark red, brown areas, most of California was under exceptional drought conditions, which are the worst conditions to be in. The drought worsened water conditions and had major impacts on farms and drinking water users. This brought greater attention to the problem, and the legislator passed SGMA to ensure that groundwater resources would remain available in the future. Next slide, please. The key principle of SGMA is that groundwater management in California is best accomplished locally. The bulk of the work is being done by new local agencies created by the law to manage groundwater. These local agencies are responsible for developing and implementing plans to manage groundwater to achieve sustainability, ensuring the resource is available for people who need it now and in the future. However, if local management is not successful, the state can step in to protect groundwater resources until those local agencies are able to manage groundwater sustainably. The State Water Board and the Department of Water Resources, also known as DWR, are two state agencies with roles related to SGMA, which is why we are both here today. Next slide, please. After SGMA's adoption in 2014, the Department of Water Resources adopted groundwater sustainability plan regulations, created subbasin boundaries in 2016, and prioritized critically high, medium, and low priority basins. This laid the groundwork for local agencies to form and develop plans to achieve sustainability. Next slide, please. So what is sustainability? Sustainability is a groundwater plan that will ensure that there is still enough groundwater available for future generations. Under the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, local agencies must set goals about how much water can be pumped to balance current water needs with future water needs. This is known as sustainable yield. To manage the groundwater basin adequately, local agencies must avoid sufficient and unreasonable occurrences of 6 specific problems, known as undesirable results. We will now go through these 6 undesirable results with you so you understand what local plans must prevent according to the law. Next slide, please. First, we will discuss lowering the groundwater levels. When groundwater is pumped faster than it is replenished by natural processes, like rainfall, this can cause groundwater levels to lower. Next slide, please. This slide, yes, perfect, thank you. Declining groundwater levels can cause shallow wells to go dry or reduce their productivity, increase energy costs of pumping, and reduce water for deep-rooted plants. Next slide, please. Storage is the amount of water an aquifer can hold. As you pump more water from an aquifer than what is being recharged, it can cause storage reduction, a decrease in how much water the aquifer can store, which can be permanent. Next slide, please. Seawater intrusion is associated with groundwater overdraft and lowering the groundwater levels in coastal aquifers. When fresh water is pumped from aquifers near the coast, salt water can push inland. Seawater intrusion can cause water in fresh aquifers to become unsuitable for drinking, irrigation, and industrial use. Next slide, please. This slide shows how various contaminants can pollute water resources. Next slide. On this slide, you can see what happens when groundwater levels decline. This can cause existing contaminants to become concentrated because there is less overall water. The contaminants may end up closer to wells. Lowering the groundwater levels can cause naturally occurring or human-caused contaminants that are within the soil to dissolve into the groundwater. All of this creates degraded water quality, posing a risk to human health and safety. Poor water quality can cause chronic diseases and can result in water that is not suitable for crops. Next slide, please. Surface water depletion refers to the reduction of water levels in water bodies, such as rivers and streams. Excessive groundwater pumping near rivers and streams can lead to declining water levels, potentially causing surface water bodies to dry up. This can cause harm to aquatic ecosystems and species. Next slide, please. Great. The underground water has become so depleted in the Central Valley that the ground above it has sunk, a process known as subsidence. Next slide, please. This process can cause irreversible damage to infrastructure like bridges, roads, pipelines, canals, levees, buildings, and aqueduct operations. Next slide, please. We will now discuss groundwater sustainability agencies. Groundwater sustainability agencies, also known as GSAs, were formed in 2017 by local authority. GSAs created groundwater sustainability plans, known as GSPs, over the next few years. In the next section, we will explain more about groundwater sustainability agencies and groundwater sustainability plans. Next slide, please. SGMA required 94 basins in California to manage their groundwater sustainability. Next slide, please. In order to accomplish this, the law required the formation of new local agencies who were responsible for writing and implementing plans to manage groundwater. These agencies are known as groundwater sustainability agencies. However, there are several other partners with roles in SGMA. SGMA requires groundwater sustainability agencies to notify interested parties about plans and to consider all beneficial uses and users of groundwater in developing those plans. SGMA required the Department of Water Resources to develop a framework for groundwater sustainability plans and to determine whether these plans are adequate. The Department of Water Resources decides that any plans are not sufficient for managing groundwater sustainably. The State Water Board is the backup plan and steps in to help basins get back on track. Next slide, please. This first step in local management is to form a groundwater sustainability agency. that was done in 2017 with 99% compliance. Most GSAs were formed from pre-existing surface water agencies, such as irrigation districts. Areas not covered by existing surface water agencies are often covered by counties. Next, these newly formed agencies developed a plan to bring basins back into balance. Then the GSAs need to implement their plans and in 20 years achieve sustainability. Next slide, please. Oh, you can, sorry. Great, thank you. Because most of the work related to SGMA is happening at a local level, we encourage you to get involved with your local groundwater sustainability agency. The Department of Water Resources has an online portal where you can look up contact information for your local GSA representatives. Staff are available at the resources table at the back of the room to help you look this information up today. If you need support, GSAs are required to keep a list of people who want to receive updates about their plans. You can request to be added to their list. You can provide feedback to GSAs by reviewing their groundwater sustainability plans and sharing comments. You can also attend and participate in GSA board meetings and public meetings. If you need documents translated to Punjabi or another language, or live language interpretation at an event, you can make that request to your local GSA. The Department of Water Resources has resources to help GSAs provide language services. I will now hand it off to Jeevan to discuss groundwater sustainability plans. Thank you.
Thanks, Regina. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jeevan Jayakodi, and I'm a senior engineering geologist with the Office of Sustainable Groundwater Management at the State Water Board. Next slide, please. Let's look at the SGMA timeline again. The basins that were critically overdrafted, such as the sub-basins within the Central Valley, were required to submit plans to DWR by 2020. These plans were developed by GSAs and outlined strategies to sustainably manage groundwater and achieved a balanced condition by 2040. Other basins that were not in overdraft had to submit plans by 2022. Next slide, please. Now we will describe how groundwater sustainability plans work. In general, these plans focus on creating sustainability goals and making sure that they reach those goals. A plan tries to understand groundwater conditions, establish sustainability criteria, and set up a monitoring plan to understand where wells are located and how much people are pumping. It also includes projects and management actions, which are steps agencies take to achieve sustainability. These might include projects that bring in new surface water supplies or rules that restrict pumping. Next slide, please. Once local GSAs have developed their plans, they have to turn them into DWR for review. DWR evaluation and assessment has to be within 2 years of receiving the plan. If plans are approved, DWR continues to evaluate implementation, and there are formal check-ins every 5 years. DWR can fail a plan at any year. Next slide, please. DWR reviewed the GSPs and in 2023 deemed 6 sub-basin GSPs as inadequate. Those 6 sub-basins were referred to the State Water Board to consider temporarily intervening in managing the basin in a process called state intervention. Next slide, please. When DWR deems the plan for a sub-basin to be inadequate, this initiates the State Water Board's state intervention process. Next slide, please. The State Water Board reviews the local groundwater sustainability plans and considers whether the basin should go on probation. Next slide, please. If the basin is put on probation, then there is a period of at least a year for local agencies to fix issues with the plans. Now we are going to discuss what happens if the State Water Board decides to put a basin into probation. Next slide, please. Beginning in 2023, the State Water Board started conducting outreach and assessing the plans for the 6 basins referred to us by DWR. In 2024, we held 2 probationary hearings, that is public hearings, where the board considered putting a basin on probation. Next slide, please. If a basin is put on probation, first, the board identifies the problems with the plan. Then, local groundwater sustainability agencies work during this time to fix issues while implementing the good parts of their plans. Many people who use groundwater will need to begin reporting how much they pump, so the board can assess conditions. The board may require meters, so we get accurate information. The board must also begin charging fees. The law states that the board must recover the cost of administering the program. Fees are not meant to be punitive. Groundwater pumpers who meet the definition of a low-income resident may be eligible to have their fees waived. Public water systems that serve disadvantaged communities may also be eligible to have their fees waived. Next slide, please. If GSS don't manage to resolve deficiencies within a year of probationary hearing, the board could develop an interim plan for the basin. Next slide, please. These are the main components of an interim plan. Corrective actions to get the basin back on track. Monitoring to measure how implementation is going. A schedule for the corrective actions. And enforcement to make sure the plan is followed. An important thing to remember is that an interim plan is temporary. It's meant to fix issues and help the local groundwater sustainability agencies get back in control towards sustainability. Next slide, please. At any time during the state intervention process, if groundwater sustainability agencies think they have fixed their issues, they can provide a new plan or plans to the board for evaluation. If the plan is fixed, we can move the basin out of state intervention and back to DWR's oversight. I will now hand it over to Natalie.
Thank you, Jeevan. In addition to working with your local groundwater sustainability agencies, we welcome you to participate in the State Water Board's public process, especially if you live or farm in one of the 6 groundwater basins that have been referred to the State Water Board. We invite you to provide written public comments on staff reports and attend our public workshops and probationary hearings to provide your feedback. Next slide, please. We will now share a brief status update on SGMA implementation, especially as it relates to the State Water Board's role. Next slide, please. This map shows the status of groundwater basins that are subject to SGMA. The blue color indicates basins where the Department of Water Resources has approved the Groundwater Sustainability Plan. So far, DWR has approved plans for 71 basins. The 13 yellow basins are basins with plans that DWR has deemed to be incomplete. Local agencies submitted improved plans for these basins, and DWR is reviewing them now. DWR has determined 6 groundwater basins, shown in orange, to have inadequate plans. We'll talk about those on the next slide. DWR is continuing to review plans, so the status of basins may change in the coming year. Next slide, please. These are the 6 basins that DWR has determined to have inadequate plans, which means that they have been referred to the State Water Board for potential state intervention. These basins are Tulare Lake, Tule, Cahuilla, Kern County, Delta Mendota, and Chowchilla. State Water Board staff have been reviewing the plans for these basins, conducting outreach to the public, and developing recommendations to our board on whether or not to place these basins on probation. Next slide, please. So far, there have been probationary hearings for 2 groundwater basins, Tulare Lake and Tule. The Tule groundwater basin was designated probationary in September and is the only basin where groundwater pumpers currently need to plan to report their groundwater extraction information to the State Water Board. Pumpers in the Tule Basin should start recording their pumping data on January 1st, 2025, and will need to submit annual reports by February 1st, 2026, and pay required reporting fees shortly thereafter. Next slide, please. This is the anticipated schedule for probationary hearings for the remaining 4 basins. Decisions on probationary status have not been made yet for these basins. We encourage you to participate in any upcoming workshops, comment periods, or hearings. Next slide, please. We welcome you to visit our website for more information. Staff are also available today at the resources table to help you look up your groundwater sustainability agency contacts and the status of your groundwater basin. Next slide, please. We also welcome you to contact us via email or phone. You can sign up on our website for the SGMA Groundwater Management email list to receive updates about specific basins and hear about opportunities to participate in our public process. We appreciate hearing from the public about concerns with SGMA implementation. And today is another opportunity where we hope to learn from all of you about your concerns and about how groundwater management is impacting your community. Today, we're here to respond to a request to hold a SGMA workshop in Punjabi interpretation, and we are happy to be here to do so. We also encourage you and others to request language services in advance of meetings and workshops when you're engaging with us and with other state or local agencies. We acknowledge that SGMA implementation, while critical for ensuring groundwater is available for use in the future, will impact many people today. And we understand that if groups of people are not participating in the process, plans for sustainable groundwater management may not adequately consider their needs or the impacts they face. This is why we encourage you to engage with local groundwater sustainability agencies in your basins, and we encourage you to engage with us, State Water Board staff, if you are in one of the 6 basins where we're currently involved. Additionally, in preparing for this workshop, we've heard that many people in your community are looking for opportunities and assistance adapting to SGMA implementation today. We hope that some of the resources that our partner agencies share today may be of use to you. And we hope to learn more today about your community's needs and concerns when it comes to SGMA implementation in the San Joaquin Valley. Thank you, and I'll now hand it back to Jim.
Great. Thank you, Natalie and Regina and Jeevan, for that overview of SGMA. And now we are going to hear some of the other presenters up here on the stage. We're going to start off with Jasbir Sidhu with Punjabi American Growers Group. And Jasbir, will you be doing your own interpretation? Yeah, okay. So just a note to the interpreters that this will have both Punjabi and English coming from the microphone here.
Thanks, Natalie, for presenting and the whole team. So I'm gonna, a lot of the members know the overviews of Pagg, but I'm gonna cover the Pagg presentation. Let's go to the next page. The next page. Okay. So let me cover Pagg's mission really is to empower all farmers with knowledge of service, resources from government, educational institutions, like we have one today, achieve sustainability. Pagg is a platform. That goal is to provide end-to-end solution with strategic alignment and with the leadership of each segment. And our vision really is to transform family farms, because we're in a desperate need to provide a solution that can compete with corporate and protect and sustain Mother Earth. Next page. Just an overview of Pagg. Pagg is a non-profit organization founded by the farmers, for the farmers, to serve the farmers. It was founded in 2020, and currently there are over 750,000 acres Punjabis are farming in California that extends anywhere from Chico to Bakersfield. And so basically the key focus of our organization is to provide technical knowledge, optimizing complete farming operation, reducing farmer input costs, marketing, and government representation on a lot of the issues that we have today, such as Acequia, regulatory, and other agencies. So those are the key focus when Pagg was founded. Today, these are still the key goals for us. Next page. So why did we needed this organization? We have a lot of farmers that have recently purchased land. Farmers was without any voice anywhere, whether it's a legislature, any regulatory that's coming in, anywhere there was no voice. The cost of the inputs are increasing, technical knowledge is limited, as farming is transferring with the great climate challenges and other stuff. The prices of our crops has really suffered in the last couple of years. On top of that, we're talking about Sigma, which is further increasing the cost. And there was no inputs, wasn't a platform. When we looked at it, Farm Bureau, others, they had limited reach to the minority farmers. Matter of fact, non-existence. There wasn't any other farmer organization or platform that these farmers could latch on to get help. So organization goal really is, we talked about, is to provide that knowledge and representation and hopefully making the farming successful. Next. So when we looked at all the goals, easy way to frame it is farmers in the middle. We need a lot of, we're serving is a bridge for a lot of the government engagements, whether it's in Sacramento or Washington, D.C. A lot of the regulations that are coming down. We're basically summarizing all the voice, as I will do today later on, from the Pagg members. And a lot of the inputs are skyrocketing, which we have no control as to the cost of the farmers is increasing exponentially. That's putting a lot of burden and pressure, pushing farmer toward bankruptcies. Market analysis and crop pricing, there aren't any today. There are a lot of data that comes out. We're hoping that leaders from our state and federal provide these type of guidance. When we look at the other crops, like corn, like soybean, wheat, there is a lot of data. But that's not what California is growing. California's got a lot of nut crops, which there's a very limited support. There are organizations, but the data is very unclear where the direction is going. So, next page. So let me just kind of summarize from all of our members what are some of the concerns. First, I think we wanted to say, as a steward of the land, farmer supports Sigma. Something has to be done to basically protect our natural resources. There is no question. There are no questions on the law, how it was put together. as we have met once before. The challenge comes in the implementation, the challenge comes into the communication parts of it. So when the laws are made, as we're representing more than 25% of the almond crops and other crops, there was no participation from the family farmers. I think when we define farmers, it was represented by corporate farms, which are very large, that has a different needs, different structure, instead of what the family farms who are sort of basically farming 100 to 200 acres. So it was a lack of input, and first communication that was ever given to the Punjabi farmers are that you need to pay $275 penalties. That's when people are waking up and saying, hey, what kind of government fees are these? And at that point, it's a little too late. That was a 2022. So 8 years have passed. Everyone, we say farming too was hibernating. Laws were not explained. Many people invested their livelihoods at that point to basically make goods on certain things. There was no guidance provided. So at this point, law really disturbed the ecosystem. The state has failed the farmers to engage. Therefore, we were investing a lot of things in land, which very well knew when the law was created in 2014 what would happen to that land. The target was 2040, but the execution is being taken place in 2022. So all SGMA financial burden is on the poor family farmers. That's further basically putting them into a debt, into a bankruptcy. So when we look at federal and state water policies, it's conflicting with one another. State doesn't want to talk to federal, federal doesn't want to talk to state, but the poor family farms will get penalized and taken all their livelihoods of all their hard work, all their investments from them. It won't be that far when we see desert in California. When we look at this thing, banks were happily funding single source water. They were lending money to plant trees. They were providing guidance to say, we will give you more money. USDA, NRCS, CDFA, given plenty of money to go and say put almond trees or pistachios on the mountains. Very well knowing in 2014, when somebody did the study, they must have known that land is not going to be useful. So at this point, we're coming down is people have invested where state has failed. USDA has failed. There was no guidance. And laws were intentionally created, most Punjabi farmers are feeling, to bankrupt them, to create a desert situation. I mean, look at this thing. Saudi Arabia is basically taking a desert, putting a lot of trees in today, and they're able to provide the water. We could go look at that. California's vision, California's leadership is ready to basically, from Chowchilla to Basin, say, we don't need you. All the livelihoods you have is basically, it is going to become a desert. Next page. Let's look at the family farms impact. Financially, everything is tied together. whether it's your farms, your homes, your business. When we say the single family farms getting penalized, it's not just penalizing the farms. We are going to take homes away from them. We will create more homelesses. I hope state has a lot of funds for that. Good community that worked very hard, state is ready to put them on the street or to find another way to go somewhere else. When we say we're going to, when we're expecting 1.5 million acres are followed, it's not 1.5. It's 30% from Chowchilla to Bakersfield. 1.5 will be a single source water. It'll probably be a 2x by the time, because when farmers go bankrupt, their dual source water are all tied into one. What farmers really want to go look at is all these impacts that are going to have. When we're creating more homelessness, more unemployment, schools, psychological, psychiatric help that these people need, what is the state's plan? Who is planning it? Who's the leader of this state? Impacts are far behind when we just say basically, here's the Sigma law and here's an execution. Punjabi farmers are really looking for a pretty comprehensive whole plan on the ecosystem. Should we stop today? We have friends. I mean, here in Pixley and other areas, they're taking their trees out. They're asking Pagg, what should we be planting? We don't have a guidance. They basically are really asking, should my kids be going into an agriculture? We don't have an answer. There are no answers today. There are laws. Laws coming down very, very hard. But the only thing farmer seeing is they're on the execution platform. They will be executed very soon. When we look at a lot of the funds that are coming in, the drip systems, as the water goes down, it's not only we're talking about water. We're using probably 20% more water because of the sodium, the salt that's tied to it, to just maintain the status quo crops today. There hasn't been any technological breakthroughs. The universities has given up on these farmers. All the educational institutions, the state has given up. Aquifers are going down. They will be going down fast because a lot of the funds that were created, we talk about healthy soil. There's not even a single word that says healthy water, clean water. What's soil gonna do if you pour 2 to 3x times of contaminated water, and it's gonna continue to get worse? A lot of Punjabi farmers are saying, looking at this right now is, we're a technology leader in the world. We must have known at each level of the aquifer the quality that's there. But nobody has really gone up and says, this is the impact we're gonna have. Next page. So we look at a lot of the things. What people don't understand is there are solutions. We created technologies to deplete aquifers. We're using more and more of it to further accelerate. There are solutions. Look at cloud seeding. US, China, Dubai, India, Russia, France, Australia, Mexico, Germany, all these countries have, if this is not an urgency, what is? You're talking about half of the state going empty. When we started using the technology on November 13, 1946 in New York, why can't that be used in California? That's one of the questions people are asking. Did we lose technological expertise in this area? Or we just don't have the will to go execute? When we look at our infrastructure, none is invested. Reservoir, dams, capturing all that water. We have so much silt in our reservoirs. When it rains, it floods. There is not enough to capture. We totally realize that the state is not able to, this federal needs to step in. We elected our leaders, our congressmen, our senators, our assembly people. Other than Melissa asking for help, everyone turned their back on the farmers. None of the issue has been brought up, hasn't been talked about. We are going into an area where next 2 years, these 6 basins, as we look at the UC extensions, their presentation of the data, the climate is going to get worse. So their ability to operate, their life source, is coming very, very soon. They're not going to be able to, you'll see farming in the Central Valley. Like I said, there's billions and billions of dollars comes in probably for healthy soil, other structures. Where is it going? CDFA last year, people have brought into attention. There was a drought fund, grants that came in for drought area to put assistance. Where did it go? It went to the coastal area. It went to the Sutter counties, where they think that's the best use for drought, where the rain there is over 50 inches a year. Their water table is probably no more than 20, 30 feet. How are these funds going to a place where it's basically not needed? It's overflooded. I mean, here are the farmers who are suffering. We're basically saying, hey, we're going to squeeze another $275 or $500 or $1,000 out of you. These are the pains of the Punjabi farmers are having. And we need, for emergency times, we need emergency measures. Measures needs to come from leaderships. Right now, just like the valley fog, you can't see through it. So, climate impacts and projections. Everyone knows there's a lot of studies being done. I'm very sure in the year 2000 people studied, and with a good estimation, they knew what 2024 was. Today, we got scientists that's projecting and telling us where 2040 is. What we're looking for, what the farmers want to know is, what would 2030 look like? What does a 2035 looks like? What measures should they take? What guidance, whose guidance should they follow? Should they not plant anything? Should they not invest? Should they bring down their operation? These are the questions and concerns that Punjabi farmers they're bringing up. They don't know where to go. They need your help. They need your guidance. Next page. So when we look at summarizing this, we don't look at Acequia as a standalone entity. What we see is Sigma protecting the environment. We totally agree it needs to be done. There needs to be more water coming from north to south. There needs to be conveyance system that works. When we look at farmer awareness, we want to thank you for coming today, but this is the first time after 8-9 years. There's no study done on the economic impact in the valley. There's no guidance on what the farmer should do. Ag technology is available today, but nobody is looking at it. In my own farm alone, I tested it. We tested a water improvement technology. It basically increased the water holding capacity. For me to irrigate every third day, I was going to go every other day. Now I'm irrigating every fifth day. But none of these technologies are funded. What are we funding? Is to put more compost and do other stuff that can hold capacity. But the number of salts that are getting in, it's not matching. There's no research done. When we knew at 2000 that drought is coming on root systems, other stuff where we should be able to farm with the current amount of water we had in the reservoirs. None of that is apparent out there. If it is, we want to know. If you look at the funding, it's going in the wrong place. The legislature, leadership, we need them to step up, represent these people who elected them. Hasn't done yet. They will only see when the results on their fields. The water laws and the state law, they're colliding. Who's really basically there to put that together? The family farm takeover by corporate, we could see another quote that's coming. Bill Gates has bought another thousands of acres from Chowchilla to Bakersfield. So all these red areas is what Pagg members are considering red. And they want to work with state, work with federal to turn that into green. Next page. So let's just summarize. We need assessment, how each area is affected, how much effect it's going to have. If Kern County is going to have 350,000 acres followed, let's define where they are. Whether it's DWR, whether it's GSAs, but somebody has to take a lead. We got farmers who are basically can plan their livelihood, where they should de-invest. Today they don't know. A lot of questions come to us is to, hey, is my land going to go away? Am I a part of this where penalized is going to go to skyrocket? We need help. We need help defining if Raisin City is going to turn into desert tomorrow. Should there be any other actions taken? We need monthly data on the aquifer depth level on each GSA. Are we really talking about a month or 1 year or a 5 year? We need guidance by location. So new orchards, if somebody was going to plant, he doesn't get into the situation. Ag technology needs to be improved. Pagg is testing a lot. A lot of private guys are coming in and saying, here's a technology. We all need to put our heads together. We could make the right decision. Farmer awareness workshops in the future. Thank you for coming today. This is helping a lot. Can we temporarily put a hold on all of these? because we're all has some blame to be taken. Farmers didn't listen, nobody communicated, we're now invested. Everyone goes to church on the weekend, just pray, hope things don't go south soon. So those are the summary requests, just where things are, what feelings, I'm just here representing what the Pagg members, all the feedbacks that are coming. I'm hoping members here will give you a lot more if we start making a list. We'll probably never end the evening tonight. So with that, we want to thank you. Thank you for having a workshop in Punjabi. Thank you for hearing our concerns. We're ready to work with you, whatever it takes. Let's save whatever we can in the valley. Climate is coming, and it's going to get worse before it gets better. Thank you.
Testing? Okay, great. We're good. Thank you, Jasbir, for that overview of the concerns and the challenges facing the growers. We are going to, we're at 7 o'clock here, so we're going to take a 10-minute break, and then for the second half of the evening, we will hear from our presenters here as well as a few other panelists. So we'll have short presentations on resources available to support growers, and then we'll have the Q&A section portion of the evening. So we'll take a 10-minute break and then meet back here. Thank you.
Is that good? Yeah. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Carmen Carrasco. I'm from the California Department of Food and Agriculture. I work out of the Farm Equity Office at CDFA, along with Farm Equity Advisor Thea Rittenhouse, who unfortunately could not be here today. So I'll be speaking on her behalf. And thank you for the opportunity to be here with you all. I agree with Mr. Jasper that more engagement is needed on the ground from agencies, and so we really appreciate the opportunity that you are giving us today. So I hope that it's not the last time that we get to be here with you all. I'm going to present on some of our programs. This is not all of CDFA's programs, of course, but we wanted to focus on some of the programs to help with irrigation management. So hopefully you will get some benefit out of the presentation. Can we go to the next slide, please? So just the next one. Oh, okay, sorry. Briefly, the Farm Equity Office at CDFA works to enhance the way that CDFA provides services and resources to farmers to ensure that those most underserved farmers are reached. And we do that in different ways, especially developing programs with priority on serving those, the most underserved farmers and ranchers. We also have 2 advisory committees at CDFA. One is the BIPOC Producer Advisory Committee and the Small Scale Producer Advisory Committee. And I want to take this opportunity to extend our gratitude to Arshdeep Singh, who sits on the BIPOC Producer Advisory Committee. Through his leadership and guidance, Secretary Ross and other state agencies are able to hear firsthand from producers on their challenges that affect BIPOC producers the most. So thank you, Arshdeep, for your commitment to the BIPOC Producer Advisory Committee. And another way that CDFA reaches underserved farmers is through one-on-one support, assistance, and information in multiple languages, and through funding of local organizations that have experience serving small-scale and BIPOC producers and ranchers. Thea Rittenhouse, the CDFA's Farm Equity Advisor, also is part of the Land Equity Task Force, which is an initiative from the state, at the state level to work on recommendations to ensure that access to land is done in a more equitable way for producers statewide. The next slide, please. So I will speak a little bit on some of the programs that might help you with irrigation efficiency and management of your irrigation systems. I want to talk about the California Underserved and Small Producer Grant Program, which is an emergency relief program through the state. It provides grants up to $20,000 on a 12-month basis, and it's currently available for drought-related expenses. And starting in January of 2025, organizations that work, that are TA providers, technical assistance providers under this grant program, are going to be able to process applications for flood and extreme weather relief. So I would ask you to please check that information on the website so that you're able to apply and get assistance with the application. This is for small and medium scale farmers and ranchers statewide, and we work with different organizations in different regions that are able to assist you to apply to the CUSP grant program. Each organization has their own application cycles and guidelines, and these are reimbursement grants, so it means that you have to have incurred an expense, an approved expense, in order to apply and receive the grant for up to $20,000. And the list of eligible expenses are updated on the CUSP website, and right now the program is working on expanding the list of approved expenses for drought. For instance, you are going to be able to apply if you upgraded your pump to a pump that's going to draw more water, up to a 40 horsepower pump. So you can apply through CUSP for that, and also review the list of eligible expenses that are coming under the flood and extreme weather relief grants. So that's the CUSP. Again, this is emergency relief only. It's not one of our more permanent programs, but it's currently open and available. And there's $17 million that are coming for the new flood and extreme weather, and then $5 million that are still available for drought only. Can we go to the next slide, please? And these are some of the programs under the Office of Environmental and Farming Innovation Office. If you are not familiar with some of these programs, they focus more on technical assistance through, again, partner organizations on the ground that work with you one-on-one. The first one is the Water Efficiency Technical Assistance Program, the CSA, or Climate Smart Ag TA program, and then the two other programs that are not necessarily related to technical assistance, but that can also help you and are open right now, is the Organic Transition Program. This program works on as a block type model, which means that you can apply through a regional organization to help you with some of the costs associated with your transition into organic. So you're able to, you can also look up the organizations that are currently accepting applicants to that organic transition program. And a couple of other programs that I want to mention are the Healthy Soils Program and the Sweep Water Program, which you might be familiar with, which also works for you to enhance your irrigation system and make it more efficient to draw less water, and or look at other practices that you can implement either through Healthy Soils or the Sweep Program, and help you with that. Can we go to the next slide, please? So just briefly on the way that WETA, or the Water Efficiency Technical Assistance Program, works, is that it provides evaluations and recommendations on your irrigation system to see where you can be more efficient with it. Also, it provides pump efficiency testing, which is one of the requirements for you to apply to sweep. So you can get that done through WEDA and then be able to apply to sweep. The list of technical assistance providers for WEDA is current through that link on the website. So you're able to see which organizations in your region are TA providers that can help you one-on-one. And the Climate Smart Ag Technical Assistance Program works similar to WEDA, but it can also help you with applications to healthy soil. So it's not just focusing on water management as WEDA, but it's also designed to give you support with all of the other CDFA programs, not just irrigation management. So those are two that are currently open, and you can look up the list of providers again that can help you one-on-one, or you're always welcome to reach out to me or Thea directly, and we can connect you with a local provider that can provide assistance. Can we go to the next slide, please? And this is an initiative that I wanted to mention. It's funded through the USDA, and CDFA is part of this initiative. This is not necessarily related to on-farm practices, but if you are looking for expansion of markets or business planning and marketing support, this is a grant program that will be coming to the state in the fall of 2025, and it will provide grants of $25,000 up to $75,000 for non-production related practices that you can do, also value-added products if you're looking to develop other products after production. So that's the Southwest. Again, the fall 2025, the grants will be available. I think this is the last slide I had. If you have any questions, I'm going to leave my card out in the front. Please reach out. And again, the Farm Equity Office works across all of CDFA divisions and programs. So we're trying to ensure that BIPOC producers and small and medium-scale producers get their resources and services in a way that makes the most sense to them, and that is that the funds are available to these groups. So please feel free to reach out to us. And again, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Carmen. And I also want to note that there is a handout that is available in both English and Punjabi that has a summary and contact information for all of the speakers' organizations who are up here today. So that's something you can take home with you. And just want to see a note in the chat here. Okay. And I want to just do a quick check. Folks in the back, do we have sound until 8:30? That's a thumb up. Okay, great, thank you. I am next going to introduce Kelly List, who's with the Department of Water Resources, Underrepresented Communities, California Tribes, and Small Farmers Groundwater Technical Assistance, or URCTA program. And yeah, over to you.
Hi, my name is Kelly List. I am a program manager at Department of Water Resources, and I oversee two programs there in the funding financial assistance branch. One is this URCTA program, and another one is the Sustainable Groundwater Management Grant Program that we've been operating since passing of SGMA in 2014. But we are honored to be here tonight to talk about this program and some of the opportunities that are available to you, specifically for small farmers. But the program started, and you can go to the next slide. I apologize, one more. So this program started from after a discussion that we had with a nonprofit representative who's sitting on the panel tonight, outlining some of the deficiencies that they were seeing in this Central Valley, specifically in the critically overdrafted basins, with outreach and engagements to disadvantaged communities. My one staff member at the time and myself decided to start looking into this more and see like where we were seeing some of those gaps, and it really did gear towards the outreach and engagement to disadvantaged communities. We did try to expand that out besides just disadvantaged communities. That is very limited in who you can assist and help based on the median household income. So we designed a different term because we all like new terms and acronyms. So we created this underrepresented community to try and be a little more inclusive and bring more people under this umbrella. We decided to present this to our executive team, and we were allowed to use some of our staff funds to start a pilot study and to see if this is something that we could start replicating on a larger scale. We were geared towards identifying the needs, risks, and vulnerabilities of underrepresented communities with respect to the implementation of SGMA and how those impacts were going to affect the communities. So we started with just 2 staff and a little bit of money, and we started identifying over 5,000 communities that were in need, and we had to narrow that down from 5,000 to 12. And that was took us a bit of time, but what we were seeing was that the needs were far greater than what we could possibly provide. We had a consultant brought on board, and they are conducting the outreach and identifying the communities and work with us on a weekly basis to decide what communities we can reach and which ones we cannot. And at that time, we were trying to do basically from well to end of pipe, and looking through all of the distribution systems and seeing what all of the needs were for those communities. The needs were very, very big and they ranged anywhere from not having any water in their well to not having storage, their infrastructure being depleted and needing to be replaced, and firefighting up in the foothills in particular. So this program kind of grew from there. We did have some successes. We have been able to bring in additional funding. Executive did allow us to expand it, and we now have some nonprofit partners that are going to speak tonight, so I will not talk about what they're going to share with you. But this isn't a grant program, so you don't have to apply for anything. You just contact us if you need assistance. In 2023, we were able to, with the assistance of CAF, secure money for small farmers specifically. And that program is really just getting up and running, and we are available to provide any of these services that you see on this slide. Can you go to the next slide? Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yes. Oh, no. Can you, just for getting some notices that we're running short of time. So if you could move quickly to the next slide, that'd be great. And I'll put a timer here just to keep track.
Okay, so I am going to cut out a few of my talking points due to time, but as I said, this isn't a grant program, so you can just contact us with the information that we have. You can go to the next slide. What I would say with the small farmer technical assistance, we were able to bring in legal assistance to help with groups that are looking at review of pumping allocations and basins that are adjudicating and going through that legal process. There is irrigation systems assessment analysis, and we have more education and outreach materials that you can reach out to us and get copies of. We are, like I said, not a grant program. There are no funds exchanged. These services are free. You just have to reach out to us and we will contact you. If you go to the next slide. And this is our contact information, that urcta@water.ca.gov. That comes to myself, Lauren, and Maria, and one other person, Haley, and we would be able to get back in touch with you and get the right technical assistant provider to you based on your needs. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kelly. And let's move to the next slide here. And just mindful of time, where I'm going to ask the presenters to move quickly through their material. So apologies for that, but thank you for moving quickly, and we'll be sure to have some time for questions at the end.
All right. My name is Jeff Sled. I'm with the Farm Service Agency, which is a part of the USDA. And I want to talk to you about the programs that the Farm Service Agency offers. Next slide. Go ahead and go to the next slide. So the Farm Service Agency, our mission is to help farmers keep farming. And we do that. We have two different arms or departments, let's say. We have a programs, what we call farm programs side, which you would think of more as grant money or cost share money that you don't have to pay back, right? And then we have farm loans, our farm loan side, which is where the Farm Service Agency acts as a bank to loan money to farmers who can't necessarily get funding through traditional sources. Next slide. So the first thing that you, as I look out, I recognize many of you, and I know that you're working with our sister agency, NRCS, that is here, that has lots of programs to help with conservation. But if you don't work with us, I would encourage you to contact your local Farm Service Agency office and register your farm with us. That's the first way to get into our programs. It's the entry into our programs. And if you don't receive our monthly newsletter, contact your local office and ask to be added to the monthly newsletter list. But you would come into our office to get to register your farm. It's a pretty simple process. You would just need to bring your either your recorded grant deed for ground that you own or your lease for ground that you are leasing. And then you'll receive a map from us and a farm number, which is kind of the first step into applying for any of the programs that we have. Next slide. The other thing that we'd encourage you to do is once you've registered your farm with us, report what crops you have planted annually. We come out with new programs all the time, and as we come out with new programs that affect specific crops, we reach out to those growers. So if we don't know you're growing the crop, we can't reach out to you. Most of our programs have deadlines, and if you have already reported your crop, you won't risk missing those deadlines. So I encourage you to contact the FSA office and report to us the crops that you're growing. Next slide. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. So before I get into the loans really quickly, I'd like you to think about a relationship with the Farm Service Agency as sort of part of your business plan for farming, because we do offer disaster assistance when you have disasters affect your farm. We do offer things like a version of crop insurance for any crops that you cannot get crop insurance on the regular market. But we also, the Farm Service Agency is also a bank, and we do loan money for farming, and we consider ourselves the lender of first opportunity, meaning we specialize in working with farmers who can't get funding through regular banks or traditional methods. Next slide. So we have different kinds of loans. So we have a direct loans where the FSA or the Farm Service Agency is your bank. And then we also have loans where we go to a traditional bank with you and guarantee that loan. So we're essentially like co-signing with you to make that bank, make you more attractive to that bank. So that's the different kinds of loans. I know I need to stop, but one more slide, I think. Next slide. Next slide. So the last thing I'll say, the Farm Service Agency in every county in the nation is managed by a board of elected farmers that we call the county committee. And the best way to have a seat at the table is for your community, for Pagg, to nominate someone to run to be elected onto our county committee in the counties that you farm in. I can talk to you more about that, get more information about that if you're interested in calling your Farm Service Agency office. But we're always looking for farmers to run and be on our board, and we're certainly always looking for farmers from underserved and minority communities so that they have a seat at the table. And I'll stop there, but we have lots more that we could talk about.
Thanks so much, Jeff. Let's go to the next slide. We have Maria Gallegos Herrera with USDA Rural Development up next. Maria, over to you.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. I'll try to be as brief as I can. As was mentioned, my name is Maria Gallegos Herrera, and I serve as the California State Director for USDA Rural Development, who is also part of the USDA family. We're one of the 27 mission areas. Joining me today, I do also want to acknowledge that we have Antonio Ibarra in the audience. He serves as the area director for the Valley region, so I highly encourage you to both connect with Antonio and myself this evening. Next slide. Our agency, our mission is focused on improving the economy and quality of life, and we focus exclusively on rural communities, and we have more than 74 programs that touch all aspects of rural development, ranging from building the necessary community infrastructure, such as community facilities, rural hospitals, water infrastructure, and a lot of other programs to support housing and economic opportunities. But what I want to say is that for tonight, we do have several programs that directly support agricultural producers and can also be very beneficial to helping the local groundwater sustainability agencies achieve that sustainability. So I'll highlight a few. The very First one is the Rural Energy for America program, and this program is really designed to help ag producers and small business owners be able to expand the use of renewable energy systems such as solar and wind, or implement energy efficiency projects with the ultimate goal of helping you reduce the cost of energy, which we know can be quite high. By doing this, we're putting revenue back in your pocket so that you can use to grow and expand your business while also advancing the climate change goals. And one of the things I want to highlight is that with the passage of the Inflation Reduction Act, we got quite a bit of money to be able to make some key improvements to this program to create more access, including being able to increase the federal grant share from 25 to 50%, so providing more grant. We have funding to provide technical assistance. So we have 2 technical assistance providers in California that can help you with the application process. And we started accepting applications on a more frequent basis, so moving away from annual opportunities to quarterly opportunities. Next slide. The other program, again, designed to help increase producer revenue is our value-added producer grant program, which essentially is a post-harvest program that helps ag producers add value to their product. So take, for example, if you are a strawberry grower who is looking to add value to that product by then using those strawberries to make strawberry jam. That's the type of eligible activity that this can fund, and we can provide both planning grants to be able to help you conduct that feasibility study to see if it's a viable product, or look at marketing or developing that business plan. But we could also provide a working capital grant to cover some of the expenses, project expenses, such as processing, marketing of that value-added product. I will say that this program is available on an annual solicitation. Usually the deadline is around February or March. So knowing about this program now is critical. You can start working on your application. We will be launching a new application portal, which is supposed to simplify the application process. Again, trying to create more access. And we do typically give priority to beginning farmers or socially disadvantaged our farmers. At least 10% of the money has historically been set aside for this population. Next slide. And then our last program, I'll keep talking because I don't want to run out of time, is I mentioned that we understand the intersection between thriving rural communities and agricultural producers and the need to ensure that there's the available water to keep farming. So we do support we can support the agency's task with achieving sustainability through our community facilities programs, which typically people use to build hospitals and schools and daycares. But here in California, we've gotten creative with this program, and we've been able to fund irrigation districts to fund to build like groundwater recharge projects, to be able to improve their infrastructure, so their water delivery system. And a very local project that I can highlight is we've provided a loan to the Lindsay Irrigation District. So again, think of us as not just somebody that can help fund housing and community facilities, but also someone that can help you increase your revenue and also help the agency achieve sustainability. One final slide. Again, I'm really, really proud of the work that we do here at Rural Development, especially under the Biden-Harris administration. We've been really focused on ensuring that no community gets left behind, and really moving away from this mentality that in order to be a successful farmer, you have to get big or get out. We have been intentional about trying to serve folks, and we want to continue to do that. So I encourage you to learn more about our programs. We have fact sheets on our website, a few handouts in the back, and key contacts for the programs that I highlighted. And again, look forward to engaging with you more tonight and in the coming weeks. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maria. So let's go to the next slide. And now we just want to do very brief introductions of our 4 additional panelists here. Just as I said before, the information for their contact and the programs that they offer is in the handout at the back. So let's start Next slide, please. Next one, please. So we'll start with Amanda Peisch-Derby with the regional coordinator with the Department of Water Resources. And Amanda, why don't you come up? And actually, let's have all the panelists just line up here. We'll just do 1 minute each here. Yeah. And let's go to the next slide.
Okay, next slide, please. My name is Amanda Peisch-Derby, and I'm a senior water resources engineer and the regional coordinator in the South Central Region Office, which is located in Fresno. The Sustainable Groundwater Management Office relies on regional coordinators across the state for local outreach and engagement. We are a neutral party, and we do not review any groundwater sustainability plans, annual reports, or periodic evaluations. We provide outreach and education to the public and technical support to groundwater sustainability agencies. There are points of contacts that our staff that attend meetings and answer questions and assist with the Sustainable Groundwater Management Office and in support of groundwater sustainability agencies, those GSAs. I have with me Jorge Baca, who is also here as a senior engineering geologist in our Fresno office, who can answer questions. The only thing we already heard today a bit from State Water Resource Control Board about SGMA, and I'll reiterate a few items. We are a different state agency, and we are tasked with different roles. And the bullet points kind of provide that we develop the emergency regulations, so we review groundwater sustainability plans, annual reports, and periodic evaluations. We also provide funding and technical support and additional data and resources. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amanda. Let's go to the next slide. Next up is Dave Runston, with the Community Alliance for Family Farmers.
Yeah. So CAF, our organization, we do lots of things with farmers. We work with them on food safety. We work with them on marketing to schools and institutions, on agroecological practices, transition to organic farming, and we have a small farm tech program. And in fact, in December 12th, next week in Kingsburg, there's going to be a Small Farm Tech Expo from 10 to 2 at the historical park there in Kingsburg. But in the water thing, we're working mainly in the Sacramento Valley and on the coast. Godu, who's here with UC-A&R, they're working here in the San Joaquin Valley. And we're working with DWR on outreach to farmers, to family farmers. We're trying to educate people. We're trying to answer what was complained about here, which was that not enough outreach has been done so that people understand what SGMA is and what your local GSA is planning to do and what it's going to cost you. And so they're telling me I only got 1 minute. I hope to have a chance to say something about why we don't have a buyout program in SGMA.
Thank you. That was impressive brevity, Dave. Again, apologies for rushing through here. We just want to make sure that we have time for some questions and discussion. So next, Godu Atumi.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. You can go to the next slide. Thank you. My name is Godu Atumi. I'm with UC-A&R. I'm part of the Sustainable Agriculture Research and Education Program, and you can move 2 slides. I'll try and keep it within my 1 minute. So like Dave mentioned, we're working with Department of Water Resources on providing outreach and engagement to small-scale farmers regarding SGMA. I'm leading our SGMA work at UC-A&R, and a lot of what we're doing is on this slide here. We're helping farmers understand what SGMA is, very similar to the presentation that was given earlier today. So we're going to work with farmers through workshops, through field days, through one-on-one to help them understand what is SGMA, who is your GSA, what policies or programs are your GSA adopting, and that could look like groundwater allocations or groundwater fees. So walking farmers through that, as well as connecting farmers to technical assistance services. So for farmers that might need services such as wells or water quality testing, we have a program that is providing that for free, as well as just helping farmers be part of the decision-making table of their GSAs. So my information is on the last slide, and I'm also going to be at the back if you have any questions, but Extension folks are in the room here, and UCNR is very happy to help. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Godu. And next is Eddie Ocampo with Self-Help Enterprises.
Thank you. Well, thank you. I see what they did here. They put all the good-looking people first, and then they let me up, right? Well, thank you for being here. I'm here in a dual role today. I'm here as the Director of Community Sustainability for Self-Help Enterprises, which has always had a strong interest in inclusion, including underrepresented communities. Many of the communities that we work alongside with here in the Central Valley in policy formulation process. And SGMA is one of those very important processes where we identify a lot of potential vulnerabilities for our communities, and we want to make sure that they're engaged in that process. Along the way, because relationships are important to us, we also have been fortunate enough to develop relationships with a lot of our local growers, farmers, water agencies, and other municipalities. And in the process, we were asked to join, actually, next slide, please. I got tired looking at my picture there. We were asked to join the San Joaquin Water Blueprint. And in that role, we are a coalition of the willing. We're a group of folks that get together to identify infrastructural opportunities for regional benefit, highlighting the vulnerabilities of growers, water agencies, and also communities. And hope to answer any questions you may have on either of those roles. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. And again, contacts and summary of the information that all these folks offer is on the handout in the back. We are now going to move into the question and answer portion of the evening. We have, I believe the sound and the interpreters are available until 8:40. So it gives us about 45 minutes. And you can ask questions simply by raising your hand. If you need interpretation, we have a couple of folks. Can you raise your hands? Yes, there. So they can help and do live interpretation in the room. And we have two folks moving around with microphones. So raise your hand and we will try to find you and determine if you need interpretation. If you would like to ask a question in writing, there are some index cards. Alex, yes, over there in the back, there are some index cards and pens, and you can write those out, and we'll read them out up here. So I saw a few hands already. Let's, right back there. Let's start with you. And you can please, yes, ask your question, and we'll see who on the panel is available to address it. In addition to all the folks we just heard from, we have State Water Resources Control Board staff here as well.
Hi, good evening, gentlemen. My question is that we have heard everything, but nobody have got anything regarding any storage and other about the new dams, etc. We have 200 million acre feet of water annually, and their dam capacity is, I think, 40 million acre feet, and we are using 25.8 million acres for irrigation, and we need to manage the water properly, and according to me, there is no need of this program we are going through if we use our water diligently. Thank you.
Let's see, yes, so do we have are the desk mics live? Yeah, they should be live. Yes, Natalie, please. Or Tina. Yeah.
Testing. Okay, great. My mic's on. Thank you. Thank you for that question. So what just to repeat the question heard is there was a question about why there wasn't more water storage and infrastructure being worked on right now.
Yeah.
So the purpose of this meeting is to focus in on the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act and provide information and resources regarding relevant programs. So when it comes to infrastructure and, building more dams, that's really a statewide water policy issue that I'm not in a position to weigh in on right now. But I can share that when it comes to groundwater management, many local groundwater sustainability agencies and their plans are really working on more options for groundwater recharge. They're working on building that infrastructure, getting permits where needed, and other efforts like that. And there's also a lot more storage capacity underground than in many cases if we just build a couple more reservoirs. So really, to learn more about that, a great way would be to reach out to your local groundwater sustainability agencies and finding out what they're doing there. Recharge is one important part of a portfolio of water options. There are going to need to be other steps taken as well. There's more groundwater used than can be used sustainably. But groundwater sustainability agencies are working on more options.
So I'm Tina Cannon-Leahy. I'm with the Office of the Chief Counsel with the State Water Resources Control Board, but previously I was at the legislature. So what I would add is that in the last bond, not the one that just passed, but in Proposition 1, there was money for storage, and there is a water storage investment program that was implemented. So for more information about surface water storage and the surface water storage investigations which went on, which were very complex, I would recommend looking at that program. Water Storage Investment Program, WSIP. I'm trying, is it 12? Is it, how much?
Go ahead.
Dee Dee's calling out. I was
Yeah,
trying to remember how
let's
much
get
was
a
in the
mic to
bond
you for the
Proposition
follow-up
1.
question in front here.
Yeah, what are the dollars we're talking about on that ground storage program?
So let's do this. Let's take some other questions, and I will look at Proposition 1, and I will let you know.
Great. Thank you. In the front here.
Since we made a SGMA plan since 2014, I want to know what the government or state done their part of job instead of making pond and basins and all these things. When I understand we have plenty of water if we manage it, but we're not managing it right. And also on the agencies, I think we got too many agencies. Farmers, they are working in the fields, but we think should have only one window where we can take up a problem or we can learn about it, and then instead of going and we don't have that much time, we work in the field. And I think they're both questions I have on the water. We have plenty of water, but not managing, and one kind of office window. Thank you.
So to summarize that, the two questions I heard in there are, GSAs and local agencies have been stepping in to manage since 2014, but what has the state done? And the second question I heard was, sorry, I heard, what was it? Oh, thank you. And a comment that there's many agencies, and when you're a farmer, it's hard to work across all of these agencies up here. Regarding the first question, so local agencies have been coming together since 2014 and working to develop their plans and implement them. The state has had two distinct roles during SGMA implementation, and I'm speaking narrowly about SGMA. One is the Department of Water Resources developed what needs to be in these plans for sustainable groundwater management so it can be done successfully, and then they review the plans that come in and decide if they're adequate or not. For plans that are inadequate, those groundwater basins are referred to the State Water Board, so the State Water Board can consider whether the board needs to intervene in management because the problems are so significant that there won't be sustainable groundwater management. So the state has been focused on working with groundwater sustainability agencies and other efforts to try and make SGMA implementation successful. From the State Water Board's perspective, our goal has never been to put basins on probation. It's to see local groundwater management be successful. And even though we do have two basins that have been put on probation, we're still continuing to work with one of them that we can work with to try and help them get back on track and get out of state intervention. I'll see if DWR wants to add there, but I appreciate your comment that there's many agencies. We all came here today because we have different roles and resources, and we understand that, while these are separated, we really hope that, bringing this all together, we're able to provide some more options and resources for your consideration. We really want to see SGMA be successful. We want to see farms be successful. We want to see you all be successful in working with your local agencies to manage groundwater sustainably. And so really, we're just trying to bring these resources together and help you find those crossovers. But I'll see if DWR or if anyone else wants to add there.
Yeah, I can add something. Just to address kind of that question about what the different agencies have been doing. The department was tasked with providing technical assistance and financial assistance to these new government agencies that were forming in 2014. So we worked closely with them. They applied for grants. We had grants available for them to form their agencies and develop their plans. And we even have funding to help them implement plans. And Kelly might be able to help me out, but was it $365 million that we provided in grants? Is that the total? Something like that?
Is this on? Since Prop 168 in general fund, we have provided over $500 million to groundwater sustainability agencies for initially to fund the development of the groundwater sustainability agencies themselves, and then also the plans, and now we're into, we hope, implementation of actual construction projects.
So we've provided a substantial amount of funding for these agencies. And in addition, we have done a lot of data collection statewide. We've provided land subsidence data and land use data, and then we have geologic data that we've provided so they gain a better understanding of their groundwater basins. So I think that hopefully that's helpful as far as, and when we have, as I mentioned in my introduction, that we attend meetings, we actually go to groundwater sustainability agency meetings, we answer questions, and we work closely with these agencies. We also provided and developed guidance documents. They receive guidance documents from us on communication and engagement and best management practices. So we're very engaged. We actually have more guidance documents that we are coming out. We just released a few for guidance on interconnected surface waters, and we will be working on one for land subsidence. And we'll continue to do that and assist these agencies with their technical data needs.
So I'm going to come back to that first question because I have the answer for you. So Proposition 1 in 2014 had $2.7 billion for surface water storage. One of the challenges is that most of the rivers in California are dammed already. So in trying to investigate where additional storage could be located, I'm not part of that program, so I'm just letting you know that was very difficult. The question that was raised about the number of agencies, is a good question. Part of why so many agencies are involved with SGMA was actually in response to stakeholders that were involved in the development of SGMA. And so the stakeholders involved with SGMA, which was many different kinds of people, said groundwater should be managed locally. So the first thing that should be created are local agencies to manage groundwater. The second thing that stakeholders said is we need technical assistance and we need funding and evaluation of plans, and the Department of Water Resources, which is in the California Natural Resources Agency, has a long history of providing technical assistance. So the Department of Water Resources became the agency providing technical assistance on SGMA. They already have what is called Bulletin 118, which is California's groundwater basins, which is an investigation, and they had done that for decades. So they became the agency that provided that technical financial assistance and evaluation. The third part of SGMA is if plans are unsuccessful, who should be the regulator? And the State Water Resources Control Board, which is in the California Environmental Protection Agency, is a regulatory body that does its business in public and makes its decisions in public. The 5-member board that our board member Dee Diadamo is on. And so what was decided in the legislature was that that very public body should be the one that would do the regulation. So I'm sensitive that it's confusing and overwhelming when folks are involved with the Groundwater Act, but that is how it evolved.
Thank you for those responses. Yes.
I don't, so I'm deferring to those that have the microphones because I'm wanting to ensure we hear the questions that are, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble actually
We do have
hearing the question.
yeah, thank you for the question up front. We have another question in the back, and yeah, there will, yes. Question in back.
Okay, the question here is, how are cities held accountable for recharging the reservoir from which they pump water for their growth?
So a question about, this is about municipalities that pump water, and what are their responsibilities for recharge?
Yes,
okay.
Exactly.
Who would like to take that one?
I can start.
Okay,
Yeah.
Natalie.
So the entities that are responsible for managing groundwater are the groundwater sustainability agencies. These are made up of new or existing local agencies that have water or land use authorities. In some basins, cities are part of the groundwater sustainability agencies, and they help develop the plans and work with stakeholders and work to implement those plans. So it's the local groundwater sustainability agencies that are responsible for developing those plans and ensuring that they're successful.
So let's go. Can we get a mic over there? So. Oh, this is a follow-up. This is a follow-up. Sorry about that. Yes. Yeah. And then mic over on that side.
Hello, Sat Sri Akal ji ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ. Very good evening. Thank you for everybody. You listen to farmer complaints. We are very thank you to all friends, all peoples, and all staff. You are listening to very good for water problem. They have so many problems to farmer. Water is going deep. That's not farmer fault. That's nature and government fault. They can bring the so many canals. Farmer can do anything. Farmer can do only work nearly 24 hours. All farmer is working. At least in 1 week, 80 or 90 hours the people working. They don't make any money. All worker In farm or the labor class, they work 40 hours, they charge $18 per hour plus tax. So farmer can afford, farmer, all family, wife, husband, or the family kids, they were working for, look like they're doing donkey work. That's no fair with farmer. Or the plus is the farmer doing too much work, they no fixed price. In India, some state government gave with the MSP, or the here sometime reason $1,700 per ton, sometimes $700 per ton. Or the few years before, almost is the $4.50 from so many years, $1.50, $1.25, same as the pistachio 90 cents, or the farmer can afford the ones. Need is a support from government. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that comment. Is there anyone like to give a brief response? All right, yes. Thank you again for the comment. I think we have another question over here.
My question.
Oh, yes, yes. We'll get to you next here. Just keep your hand up and we'll get you a microphone. We'll go to this one first. Yeah. Can we bring the mic up to the front here?
My question was on the cities of, they pump up so much water, right? All the cities in the valley over the last 30 years have grown like fourfolds. And how much water are they using compared to what we as farmers are using? The question mainly is, why are they not responsible for filling up the basins? Look at Fresno, look at Visalia. In Fresno, within the last 20 years, they drilled so many wells, deep wells. And the top layer aquifer, they just dried it all up. And most of the farmers lost all their wells. So who is held responsible for that? And then secondly, who is responsible how they drill the wells? They have been tapping into various layers. So when they do not run the pumps, the water goes down to the next one, to the next one. And there's no regulation on that, as far as I know. So those are the things that make us farmers pay for all that. Cities wants to grow, I understand. They want a revenue, right? They are bringing people from outside. But the local farmers who have been here for generations, right, or like us, who are not generation, maybe the first, second generation, is suffering. So shouldn't they be held responsible for that? That's my question.
So usually it is counties that issue the well permits. So it is usually counties that are responsible when they are issuing well permits. So that's a local issue.
Thank you, Tina.
I can add to that too, but that cities are members of groundwater sustainability agencies. They participated in the groundwater sustainability plan development and are part of implementation. So cities are also developing solutions like groundwater recharge. They're using reuse, so purple pipe. So hopefully that's helpful. If you want to find out which, all cities are members of a groundwater sustainability agency in some shape or form.
Thank you, Amanda. I believe the next question was up front here.
I am just repeating his question that was very, very important, that we use groundwater, 80% groundwater for irrigation purposes. The things should be otherwise true. We should use 80% canal water or surface water, which is available in the form of rainfall, snowfall, and everything else that is available. Why it is? We are using groundwater, and hydrology of this California is such that when you go deeper, the water is more saline. It is not saline or alkaline. It is not good for use. So why to go deeper and deeper to take poor quality water? Rather, we should use 80% canal water and 20% this groundwater. But now the things are otherwise true. We are using 80% groundwater and only 20% canal water.
Thank you for
Why
the,
it is so? Why is it so?
Thank you for the question. Can anyone speak to low surface water availability?
I could speak to surface water availability, or would you like to, Dee? Well, yeah, so at the risk of saying something deeply unpopular, the surface water system is also oversubscribed. We are at a point where, not in every year, right? We have some years that are wet, there's more flexibility, perhaps, and folks are really looking at that and seeing if there's opportunity there. Right now, we're in a relatively wet period. I mean, not wet, but we're not in a drought. SGMA was developed during a terrible drought, and surface water was unavailable, so people were looking for groundwater, and what they were finding is that groundwater was also unavailable. So that was the crisis that gave birth to SGMA. So the surface water system is oversubscribed by orders of magnitude in certain years. And the groundwater system is oversubscribed. It is overdrafted. And that is the point that we find ourselves at.
Thank you.
Okay.
Dee,
sorry.
would you like to add? Or can we get a mic up here? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to just add that our board does work on surface water rights as well. So we administer water rights in the state of California. And what Tina is talking about is in years of plenty, there's plenty of water to go around. But in years of drought, that's where we have to step in as a state board to actually do what's called curtailments, where even if you have a water right, if there's not enough water in the system because of back-to-back dry years, you're curtailed. And so what we've seen throughout the state is that there are many water agencies that are now struggling with resilience and, you know, how to be sustainable from a surface water perspective, you know, in this changing climate. And so this administration, through the Water Resilience Plan and under the Brown administration before that, the Water Action Plan, the idea is to look at all water sources. And the best way to manage things is to have local supplies. So what we're seeing across the board is those agencies that are successful are looking at all options. I believe the representative from the Department of Water Resources talked about water recycling. We're looking at more groundwater recharge projects. There are, as Tina said, you know, some projects for more surface water, but it's challenging to get a surface water right because of what Tina was talking about, that there's just not enough water to go around. But there are a number of smaller projects that are in the works and, you know, possibly successful if they can figure out a way to capture that water when we expect that we're going to be seeing it now in the future, which is these atmospheric rivers, you know, capturing that water, whether it's for a surface water project or for a groundwater recharge project. And so really looking at a whole portfolio of options. And what we're seeing, I think I talked about, you know, my husband's family and the challenge that they had. They had surface water rights that through the years, because of some of the regulations in the Delta, they saw that where they used to have 80% supply on average, it kept dropping down to, you know, back-to-back years, 0, 5%, and they did not have a good groundwater source. And so many of you are struggling because maybe you have a groundwater source that now is challenged because of SGMA, but you don't have as much of a surface water supply. So those areas that are more, you know, say resilient, have supplies, both surface and groundwater, and they're looking to, you know, expand their portfolio. I know that it's not, you know, good news, but it's having to just be realistic about the change that we have in our climate. And the one thing that we haven't talked about too is just our snowpack. Our snowpack in California provides us, it's about a third on average, it's about a third of our water supply. And what we're seeing is, you know, because we're not getting precipitation in terms of snowfall like we used to, And then, the temperatures, higher temperatures, where that snowpack ends up melting and it doesn't materialize into the storage that we used to have in the past. And so just learning how to adjust in this changing climate, it's going to be a challenge for all of us.
Okay, I'm going to ask a question too. To be honest, if I go to the timeline you guys presented it, 2014 we passed SGMA, 2017 GSAs were created, 2020 GSAs prepared their first GSPs, right? And the area we live in, most of them are not even completed, right? So they are still in process. So when our GSAs submit the GSPs to you guys, you take time, 3 months, 6 months to review them. In the whole process, only grower didn't get any time to adjust. We found SGMA in 2022 when they cut off our water. We do the annual crops. So to make one change, we need 1 year. Why nobody's talking about us? Half of the people here own the white land. How will they survive? Where is the economic analysis done? I would like to know, all of you guys, how many people by count owns the white land? The number of growers. And how many were reached by you guys so far to help them out? I have so many growers, including myself. My GSA never reached out to me about SGMA. And I consider myself a proactive grower. How will I expect my growers to know everything? We are in a really bad situation. I'm sorry to say, but all those grants you guys presented they're already there. It just take 1 year for a small scale grower to turn upside down. That's why you have all these grants you guys mentioned, to keep us in the business. This thing is totally driving us out of the business. We should be ashamed when we say in 2014 we have the grants to outreach for SGMA. Wasn't that should be done in 2014? We are doing the SGMA outreach, what SGMA is in 2024, 10 years later. I mean, that's the situation we are in. Thank you.
Thank you, Arshdeep.
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ ਸਮੁੱਚੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਇੱਥੇ ਪਹੁੰਚਣ ਤੇ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ। ਅੱਜ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਆ ਇਹ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ। ਇਸ ਟੁਡੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ we appreciate state peoples and management peoples. So I feel today somebody listening us, somebody care for us. But we are a little late. Like I say, 2014, SGMA came to in the program. But the issue is, after that, we heard by COVID-19. COVID-19 not finished yet. Right after we got SGMA. Valley farmer, they depend on the farming. The whole world knows the valley farmer is growing almonds, raisins, and other dry nuts. So now today, my request is to government or California state peoples, give message to the state. If their arrangement from Middle East to USA, diesel, petrol, all other gases, how come they're not arrangement from Portland, other side the mountain? Why they not arrangement for farmer the water? The who people bought the land from 20 years ago, 10 years ago, they planted already the plant and a lot of cost to run that systems. And they not think that They need to tell the county guys, the local government, don't buy that land. Program is coming. You do not have water. Don't buy that. And now, the bank, 20 years, 25 years, finance that land. The last year, what happened? Early this year, what happened? Bank going behind the farmer. They tell your white area, your $15,000 per acres value is going down, and I'm going to call your loan. It's many people under that pressures. So our future is government hand now. They need to think how they want to arrange the water. We have water. I have land by the bypass in Chochila. I have a billions gallon crossing from next to my farm. And we not get even 1 gallon from that because no source. So somebody need to handle that on the top management. And I appreciate you guys here. I believe Sikh religions, my gurus 550 years ago say Pavan Guru, Pani Pita, Mata Tart Mahat. The air is a guru, the water is father, and land is mother. They already a lot of respect in these things. And farmer is now suffering. They sleep with, suffer, pain, and they wake up with pain because every next morning, whoever they owed money to bees guys, they owed money to fertilizer guys, they owed money to bank. Everybody need money. And nobody control our rate. We are continue last 3 years suffer with the prices. Nobody look at it that. And now on the top, we under pain and SGMA. And please, our request is, through you guys, you are nice people, at least here to listening us. God bless you guys. And please deliver our message to the state government and federal government. They are promised many times they are bringing water and they keep us. We don't need fast train here. Who can buy the ticket and they don't have money for living? Nobody buying that high ticket, you know. So we don't need, if they're investing money on that train, how come they're not investing money on the farming? And we are working every day, 7 days, like my other colleagues say. We are working hard, and many families depend on the farming. If you go every day around, it's hundreds car coming to work. And if no farm, save it by the government, nobody right now saving. And a lot of people going out of business, bankruptcies. And what that, the bottom line is, new generation going on depressions. And older people already under depression, what we can do. Now, our request is from our all farmers, the valley farmers and California farmers, we are working for the whole world almonds. The almond is, everybody say the California almond is #1. So we need water to grow that. On the end, I thank you for everybody. I appreciate. God bless you guys. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Thank you, sir. We have time for one more question, and then we'll have Didi Didamo come up for the closing remarks. So last question.
Thank you. This is the questions we already submitted to you. Just wanted to let the public know. This is a very short question. I'm not going to be speaking that much. We have over 500 acres in eastern Tule Rivers. And we just paid over $300,000 just 2 months ago, over 240 acres, all right? And that was $300 per acre foot of waters, plus others somewhere there. That was a tier 1. I get only 10 inches of waters for our pistachios and grapes. So now they're going to charge tier 2, which is over $900 just starting next year. And that's impossible. And my question to you, the GSA in Eastern Tule, they told me there's a waters market. And they gave me the name of the water market. And I want to know, where does the state regulate those water market peoples? There's a people coming in here, they're buying the lands and they're buying their water rights. Then they're selling us back, and GSA telling me to go get water from them. And they start charging over $500 acre foot of waters. Why is that? And I'm in the same boat that, where are we going to go? Where are we going to get the help? But can you guys regulate those water, the marketing people? And that way the farmers not get suffered. And we need to have a regulations. We need to have a, see those transparencies, what they are marketing, the water marketing people do. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I don't know if there's any response related to water market regulation?
Well, I want to, we did hear you. I just would like to understand more factually, about exactly what you were addressing. So I will talk to you later, right? So that I can understand that. And so I want you to know we heard what you said. I just don't want to, just try to, what I mean, respond without knowing all the details. Thank you.
Great. Yeah, so just one moment. I'll ask Vice Chair Diadamo to make her way up here for the closing remarks, and we'll have one last question, but please be brief because the interpreters need to leave. Yeah, so, yes.
Hello? Is it working?
I don't think so. I will also just add that Arshdeep has offered that if you have additional questions, well, first you can write them and on the index card, and we'll respond to them, or save them, and then the water board will receive them. You can also email questions to Arshdeep Singh, and he will pass them on to the water board staff here.
First of all, I appreciate you all coming here and listening to our pain.
I think it's out of batteries. Adelia, do you have the mic? Yeah.
Hello? Hello?
That's working.
First of all, I appreciate you guys coming and listening to the pain of the farmers. And I'm very thankful to that. I belong to a family, 5th generation farming family. We have served Indian Army, we have served US Army. And just to tell you about the Punjabi culture, wherever they go in the world, they farm and they put a very positive impact on the communities they serve. And wherever there's a drought in the world, there's a flood in the world, Punjabi community always goes there and steps up. Here, first of all of us have to be responsible to each other and thinking outside the box. Is there any possibility someday the water from north, where there's a lot of water available, will flow to south so that we can keep this green? Otherwise, all the families are suffering and they're going to suffer more because of lack of water. We believe in SGMA. We know excessive pumping is very bad for the communities and everything. We know that. So, but we have to think outside the box. Can we bring the water from up north to south and serve the communities here?
I'm going to try and answer that as we close out here. So the question was moving water from the north to the south. And this is an area that actually our board is involved in a number of ways. And I can only talk about one way, but there's a couple of other processes that are before our board right now that we're not able to talk about because we have petitions before us. And in those situations involving the petitions for Sites Reservoir, so there's a very large reservoir that is being proposed by a joint powers agency in Sacramento Valley that I can't comment on one way or the other, but I would encourage you to look up more information about Sites Reservoir because I'm not able to, I'm a decision maker on that, so I'm not able to comment. And then there's another project called the Delta conveyance program, and it involves changes to the conveyance system that could potentially address some of the concerns that you have. But again, because I'm a decision maker on that, I'm not able to comment, but there's lots of information on our website about that project. And then the third project is an update of the Bay Delta Water Quality Control Plan. So for those of you who follow what's going on in the Delta and moving water through the Delta, our board is responsible for addressing all of the beneficial uses for surface water in the state of California. And for many years, we've been grappling with how we can better manage the water quality in the Delta so as to protect the fisheries. And I think you all are aware that there are many challenges with fisheries in California. And if we have those, if those challenges go unaddressed, then it will continue to provide for instability of water supplies in California. So our board is actively engaged in this now, and I would encourage you to follow that process as well. And that's called the update to the Bay Delta Water Quality Control Plan. And depending on how, what the outcome is, our hope is that the fisheries improve in California, and that will also provide for greater water security and stability of pumping that's going on in the Delta. I know the hour is late, and I've been asked to kind of wrap things up here. And so what I'd like to do is just focus on the purpose here was really to get everyone together again and to bring in interpretive language services so that we could better communicate with each other. But communication occurs at many different levels, right? I think we can all learn to be better communicators, and that starts with those of us up here. We have responsibility as public servants to make sure that we are working in the public's interest. And so I think that just us being here, I've taken a lot of notes. I know that everyone on this panel has, and we are coming away from tonight's meeting better informed about your situation. And I hope that my hope is that we will be able to make better decisions as a result of the information that you all have provided. I also know that SGMA has been around for 10 years. I can't believe it's already been 10 years. And I think we can look back on it and see some really good things that have come out of SGMA. But there's also ongoing challenges. So I just want to talk about, just briefly here, for areas where we've seen improvements, maybe they're not as challenged. These basins in the southern part of the San Joaquin Valley, we're talking about a lot of overdraft and multiple problems, with drinking water wells going dry, water quality concerns, subsidence, overdraft. And then in those basins that didn't have as much challenge, we saw that they were able to, present plans and make adjustments. And so I think we recognize in this area it is going to be more challenging, but even in this area, I'm just really pleased because of a lot of time that our staff spent locally with the stakeholders and local communities getting together in the Acequia Basin in particular, and I just want to call that basin out. We actually canceled our hearing. We canceled our hearing because a new improved plan was presented, and it was so much improved that our board, along with our staff, felt, it's better to just cancel the hearing and give the staff enough time to go through the report and make sure that, they're thoroughly going through it to make sure that the basin truly is on the path of sustainability. And so, fingers crossed, I am really hopeful that we are going to see a green light for the Acequia Basin. And you all deserve a lot of credit for that, because that's not something that, we came up with. That was a plan that was presented to us. And then the other layer of communication, I think that, I think Tina, you did a really good job. She was involved in the legislature when SGMA was drafted. And so keep in mind, we had 120 members of the legislature and the governor, which was Governor Brown back then, that negotiated what's the best way to have a regulatory program. And it's local. A locally run program. And then she walked through state assistance with DWR, review at DWR, and if sustainability is not shown, that's where our board comes in. But the management, the idea is to really have things locally run. And so what I'm hearing and what I continue to hear is frustration at the local level. And that a lot of times you feel that your voices are not being heard by the local groundwater sustainability agencies. So I would just really encourage you to continue to express your concerns, go to those meetings, sign up for positions, whether it's on an advisory committee or maybe a board member seat, and be engaged at the local level. Continue to press your concerns at the local level because, again, that's the way it was structured. And so, we want to do everything we can to be helpful. And I can say that with respect to voices that historically have not been heard, like communities where their drinking water wells are going dry, we reviewed those plans to make sure that there was processes and procedures in place to have open public meetings so that the communities can engage. You don't want us to be telling local communities how to better communicate, but know that we're watching out for that to make sure that local open processes are occurring so that you all can access your local groundwater sustainability agencies. So thank you so much for your really good comments tonight. Let's continue to talk. Let's continue to meet. And I just want to also close by just, saying God bless you all for what you do to put food on all of our tables for us in California and for the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Diaramo, for those remarks. And Jasbir Sidhu would like to say just a very brief note, closing about next steps in this conversation.
Well, on behalf of Pagg and the whole Punjabi community, we want to thank every one of you guys coming over. It's not easy. We're trying to undo things that were done 8-10 years ago. So I think the key thing really is you see a lot of frustration, a lot of people. So all the question our members have will continue to compile. We want to see you, wanted to continue to dialogue so we could have a bridge. I mean, right now the GSAs ain't working the way DWR think it is, vice versa. We cannot just throw the ball over the fence. So what we want to do is for now say thank you very much, but there's a lot more work that needs to be done. We're here to work with you. And the key thing is, if you're not able to provide the answers, let's find who will. At the end of the day, this is basically, if it goes down to federal or state, there's a lot of things that needs to get done. We're here to help you, but we need your help to connect with other people. So, ਸਾਰੇ ਆਇਆਂ ਦਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ। ਜਿੰਨੇ ਵੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਮੈਂਬਰਸ ਆਏ ਆ, ਇਦਾਂ ਹੀ ਸਾਡੀ ਗਰੋਥ ਹੋਣੀ ਆ, ਨਹੀਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਨਹੀਂ ਪੁੱਛ ਸਕਦਾ ਇੱਥੇ। ਹਾਲ ਤਾਂ ਹੀ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਇਹ ਮੀਟਿੰਗ ਆ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ 'ਚ ਕਰਾਈ ਆ, ਗਾਹਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਾਂ ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਟਾਪਿਕਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਤੇ ਹੋਰ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਵੀ ਕਵਰ ਕਰਨ ਜੋਗੇ ਹੋਈਏ। ਸੋ ਮੇਰਾ ਤਾਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਇਹੀ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਵੀ ਜਦੋਂ ਇਦਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਮੀਟਿੰਗਾਂ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਉਦੋਂ ਇਦਾਂ ਲੱਗੇ ਵੀ ਕੈਮਰਾ ਸਾਰਾ ਰੂਮ ਫੁੱਲ ਹੋਵੇ ਤੇ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਆਪਣੇ ਹੋਣ ਬਹੁਤ ਕਲੀਅਰ ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਪੁੱਛ ਕੇ ਕੁਝ ਨਾ ਕੁਝ ਖੱਟ ਸਕੀਏ। ਸੋ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ।
With that, just want to thank our presenters again for joining, and thank you all for coming. And we are adjourned. And one last note, please return the interpretation